we'll move on to step 6. Now, as I mentioned, we're talking about mytho-fiction here, which means it requires a certain suspension of disbelief. Okay, some people have faith. If you tell them about the miraculous happenings that took place in Kurukshetra, about how Arjuna's arrow decapitated Jayadratha and carried that head on the arrow to an ashram some distance away from Kurukshetra, and the head landed on his father's lap, Jayadratha's father's lap. Some of us who've heard the story from when we were children, we accept it as the gospel truth. Some people will roll their eyes and say, "Are you kidding me with that? Do you need me to check my brains at the door?" So people are people. So you need to get them to believe in this world of magic and fantasy and indescribable wonder, right? So my tip to make this world believable is to remember that though the setting itself may seem unreal, you need to root this in realism. Okay, so root these extremely unreal things in realism. So you need to draw a lot from your observations. Okay, so you need to, so if you're thinking, like I said earlier when we talked about character development, you need to invest in this character. You need to believe that they're truly capable of the miraculous feats described in all these books, so in all these ancient texts. So if it's real in your head, if your faith is 100%, if your conviction is there, only then will the reader have the same conviction. So again, you need to just let go of doubt, skepticism. You need to believe in the magic, and suddenly you'll be surprised at how magical your own life has become, how this transformation takes place. And but like I said, keep the emotions very rooted and real. Sometimes we tend to hero worship these characters, these gods, these demigods who we've heard about the Pandavas, we've heard about Rama and the epics. We've grown up with Ramayana and Mahabharata, so we tend to hero worship these characters. But I've always for me, they are like childhood buddies. I grew up with all of them, so I don't have that reverential attitude. With me, it's like they're my buddies. I try to examine what makes them human, whether it's Arjuna or Kamadeva or Mohammed bin Tughlaq. I try to understand their psyche. I try to understand their motivations. I try to understand what makes them tick. So, we have these extremely human characters, even if they've performed superhuman feats. And I think that is what endears my characters to the readers. The fact that they're so human, that they're so relatable, and that they all have a wonderful sense of humor. They can make you smile, they can make you laugh, they can piss you off also when they're being stubborn and stuff like that. So, these are just, this is just a little tip to make it as realistic as possible. Bring it as close to your heart as you can, so that the reader can empathize and they don't get to that place where they're not buying what you've put down. Then you've lost the reader, you've lost the plot also, by the way. So that is something you need to take seriously. Find what makes your character human and don't be afraid to step away from it. Try not to do the whole superhero thing. Anyway, it's Marvel's a good example, right? They've taken all these superheroes and they've given them rich backstories and humanized them, and it's translated into billions of dollars for them. So there's something there. Remember that. Now we're done with step 6. Now I'm going to go on to step 7. Here's step 7. I mentioned at the onset that I do not know the secret formula for churning out a bestseller. Okay, even if I did know the secret, why would I share it? I don't think anyone will share it, and nobody has it. Nobody knows why some books become a success, why some books don't. There's lots of good writing which tends to fall by the wayside, and there's lots of extremely mediocre writing which is which proves to be very lucrative. These books get record-breaking Hollywood deals, stuff like that. So there is no answer. Don't ask me. I don't know. I don't know what it takes to become the next Chetan Bhagat or the next J.K. Rowling or your Ashwin Sanghi. Just insert the name of your favorite author, the one you envy the most, whatever. I don't know the secret. So, but what I will say is, do not try to slavishly follow in their footsteps. Don't try to be Chetan Bhagat. Don't try to be J.K. Rowling, because in that case you'll always remain a poor man's Chetan Bhagat, a poor man's Agatha Christie, a poor man's Vedavyasa. So please, it's better to be the best possible version of yourself. Work hard on your art and craft, put your heart and soul into it. Believe in yourself, believe in your work, do your best. That's all you can do. The rest is not in your control, so don't try to control it, don't fixate on it, don't get obsessed with that sort of thing. All right, how do I become a success, how do I make lots of money? Don't go down that road. Try to just stay true to your art and craft. That's all you can do. So figure out what works best for you. Now, what I've given you here isn't the definitive guide to success. It definitely isn't, trust me. These are just helpful tips which have been useful for me. Just because they've been useful for me doesn't mean it'll be useful for you. I'm sure you have your own unique approach to writing. Don't be afraid to embrace that. Just because you're taking a different path, it doesn't mean you're wrong. Don't look for validation. You're not going to find it. Nobody's going to come and swing by and say, oh, you're on the right path, keep going. There will be moments of self-doubt, insecurity, count on it. There will be days when you don't even want to get out of bed because you're debilitated with insecurity, with self-doubt. So just power past these phases and keep it steady as far as possible. Do your best, do whatever works for you, just figure it out for yourself. This works for me, and just be comfortable with your decisions. As I always tell my children, it's not about the decisions you make in themselves, it's about making those decisions work for you. So that's something you have to do on your own. I can't unfortunately hold your hand in that process. But again, reach out, feel free to reach out to others in the writing community. You never know, sometimes some casual conversation with coffee can lead to some life altering discoveries. So keep an open mind and be kind to yourself. Just try and figure out what's working for you and stick to that plan. All right, that is my step 7. And step 8 is very, 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 very important. Okay, step 8 is learning to love the process. Okay, now the rewards are many for those who've chosen art, those who've chosen writing. The highs simply cannot be described, they can only be experienced. Like I said, it can be an intensely fulfilling endeavor to just sit down and devote yourself wholeheartedly to a book which you believe in. It can transform your life. It can be magical. It makes the perfectly mundane extremely profound, and you feel as though somehow you're part of something that's bigger than you. To be a part of the ancient tradition of storytelling we have. We were even the cavemen were scratching stories on the walls of the rock caves they lived in. So we are part of an ancient tradition, and it can be so uplifting in so many ways. It's such a high when you get recognition for your work, when you suddenly get a very, very lucrative contract, when you get an award. It is unbeatable, the high. All right, it's just exhilarating. But you also have to remember that art has periods of dreadful lows. It's like having a substance abuse problem. You have the highs and then you crash land, and there'll be periods of emptiness where you feel that you've worked so hard, that you've put so much of yourself, and the return of investment is seriously lacking. So you'll start thinking, okay, I should have listened to my chemistry teacher in school. I should have become a cubicle rat. I should have probably taken up a desk job somewhere with steady pay. Because, one minute you have so many opportunities to go here. Your work will take you to so many exciting places. You get invites to so many lit fests, and they're inviting you to do storytelling sessions here, creative writing workshops there. It's such a beautiful journey. You never know where the next day is going to take you. And then there will be periods when there's nothing, no opportunities. You just feel like a bum, right? I have no work, I have no motivation, I'm just, what am I doing with my life? So you'll be racked with insecurity and depression, and that's all a part of it. So to survive this, you need to love this process of writing for its own sake. Writing has to be its own reward. All the extraneous things, you should try to understand that it matters. Yeah, of course it matters. All of us love applause, but you shouldn't do it for the applause. You shouldn't do it for the money. You shouldn't do it for the success. You shouldn't do it for the recognition. You should do it because you love writing and you can't imagine yourself doing anything else. It's that simple. It's a passion project, people. So you have to, keep the passion close, try not to lose sight of that. And you have to make sure that this process is always, a pure, pristine thing, which is not tainted by any of the extraneous variables I mentioned. Um, just realize that being able to write is a blessing and a privilege. Not everyone has that. Some people, for reasons of maybe financial reasons, maybe health reasons, maybe they're not able to write, even if they're good at it. We are blessed, we are privileged, so we must value this aspect of our life, and we have to really learn to love it for its own sake. Otherwise it'll be very hard to survive the highs and lows of this career. So just remember that, and thank me later for this little tip. All right. And the next step the next step is the vault, one of my favorites. Now, writers get asked this a lot. People keep asking, where do you find inspiration for your work? Where do you get the ideas? These, ideas. It all starts with the germ of an idea, and who knows, there might be a multi-million-dollar on the other, a deal on the other side of the rainbow. So that's the dream, right? So it all begins with an idea, and people keep asking this question, and I'll just give you my take on it. For me personally, I have this vault. One of the one of the bad things, or good things, depending on your perspective, about being friends with a writer, an author, about having them in your family, is that for us everything is fodder for our work. Okay, every conversation, every joke, every steamy slice of gossip, it all goes into the vault. We are always observing, we are always filing this away. Maybe I can use this for my book at some point. Maybe something you've observed something strange, maybe you've heard a bizarre story, maybe you've heard something raunchy. You put it all away in the vault because you never know when you'll read it. Okay, so you won't know. So sometimes you think this is important, this story is important, I'm going to use it. But maybe that's not the story you actually wind up writing. Maybe it'll be something small. Maybe it'll be a fragment you have in your head when you wake up. Maybe that materializes into your next big book. The answer is, I have no clear answers, but the vault is very important, people. Just you need to keep storing things away in this vault. This vault is a bottomless pit. Believe me, there won't be any storage issues, unlike your wardrobe at home, or the cloud, whatever. This vault has unlimited space, so be sure to fill up this vault with beautiful material. Just put lots of ideas in there for future use. Some people, even I do it. I mentioned how I write passages from books, right? So I love reading the newspaper. So some people will have a scrapbook with snippets from the newspaper of interesting cases, because it's full of insights into the human condition, especially the miserable lot of humans. You read about some gruesome crimes, then there'll be some truly heartening love stories out there, maybe, or maybe a child reuniting with parents when they were separated during a war. There are so many human interest stories in papers. That's why I'm saying reading is very important. So read your newspapers, read the news. It's very important. Learn to discern between fake news and real news. Have these snippets, even if you don't actually cut it out and stick it in a scrapbook. Just make a little note of it, or maybe you can create a chart. Maybe you can have a little crime journal where you write down about these interesting cases. So it will all help you in some way or the other. It helps with character development also. So the vault is very important. You really need to fill it up with material. So don't As I mentioned, it's not in the movies. They'll show it like that. Writers don't usually they won't be doing much. They'll be dressed well. They'll be sitting around in trendy cafes, and somehow they seem to be super productive. In the real world, it's a very it's hard labor, guys. So you need to be on the alert all the time and keep sourcing material for the vault. All right. So that's step 9, and the last step, again a very crucial step. It's basically working on mental fortitude. I mentioned the highs and lows of this profession, so you need to somehow find a way to keep things on an even keel. Again, I don't know why films and television don't do justice to writers, but either they're drinking heavily, or they're over caffeinated, and they are never shown working out or anything. But let me tell you, you need to take care of yourself. This is a very people seem to think because it's a sedentary job, it's a walk in the park. Because you're sitting at home with a laptop, people just assume it's not time consuming, it's not laborious. Please let me correct that illusion. It's a lot of hard work. So you need to take care of yourself physically first. So please take up some form of fitness related activity. Okay. For me personally, I do my cardio and strength training. I like to jog. If my knees aren't acting up, I love jogging early in the morning. I try to do at least 4 kilometers. So I do that. And yoga, I don't know what I do without yoga. Yoga really helps to slow things down, and helps me feel more balanced. So this is physically as well. Yoga helps with the mental stress also. So please take care of yourself mentally and physically. If there are if you are feeling very lost, if you're feeling very empty, if you're feeling drained. Another thing about writing, a little warning I should give you, is that I talked about immersion, about disappearing into these beautiful make believe worlds, right? The thing is, there will be times when you feel the characters in your head are more real than the people in your life. It's I think ever since I read Harry Potter, I've been kind of fixated with that, where Dumbledore tells Harry, just because something happens in your head, it doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean it hasn't happened. So I think I took him at his word. So a lot of times, my closest relationships seem to be with my characters. So I love them so much. They've become such a huge part of my life that when I'm done with a book, I feel like I've lost something. I feel so empty, and it'll be so hard to find meaning in life. So you need to be aware of this, and you need to strike a balance between the world of fantasy and reality. You need to find meaning in your real life also. Nurture all the relationships you have there. Don't take the people in your life for granted, because to be a writer, you usually have a support system, a lot of people rooting for you, a lot of people putting up with your moodiness and your weird ways, and the fact that you're using every conversation they have with you, for material for your books, for your characters. So they put up with a lot of crap from us. We need to truly treasure the people in our lives, and we need to work on creating meaningful relationships. We need to get out of our heads every once in a while. Travel, really, travel's nice. I'm not talking about going to some theme park and standing with the crowd and feeling beja fried. No, I'm saying try and reconnect with nature. It'll help you feel more sorted. It'll also give you ideas for world building. When you find yourself in beautiful untouched parts of civilization, maybe you've discovered a waterfall or maybe a lake, and somehow it's food for the soul, right? And you can also use it in your next book for some beautiful sylvan setting. So reconnect with nature. I mentioned friends, right? Friends, family. Just stay in touch with them. Try not to isolate yourself so much. Try not to disappear and get lost in your head. It's a recipe for disaster. So self-care is important. Take care. This is a very demanding muse, so you need to be at the top of your game. You need to work on your endurance. We want to do this for a long time, right? One of the beautiful things about writing is, they keep saying that you do your best work when you're older, when you've drunk deeply from the cup of human existence, right?